All right. Heather, thank you for doing this with me today. How's it going?
Absolutely. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy to have the experience of being coached by you. It was life changing, and I continue to see things. And it's like I continue putting together these puzzle pieces, and I find myself tapping at all times of the day. Especially before bed and in the morning when I do my thought work. So, yeah, it's just been probably the most transformative thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah. Also, actually, let's talk about that a bit because that is maybe something because people who work with me, like, they don't care to tap in
Mhm.
between sessions, which is fine with them, right? They're just kind of like, nah, I just want to work,
Yeah.
do the deep stuff with you. But can you tell me how, like, those two things go together, right? Your own use and continued use of tapping, like, plus the deeper work that we had done in
Yeah.
session.
So I feel like it's kind of like the cheat code when I'm feeling a big emotion. And instead of wallowing in it, because that's maybe something that I like to do sometimes, I'm like, okay, I see it and I can just bring it up and deal with it right away, which to me feels like it's reducing stress over the long term. So I don't want to use the word shortcut, but it kind of is like a shortcut where it's
I
like,
would
yeah,
definitely,
this is the shortcut. Like I'm gonna just deal with the emotion right now, and we're just gonna tap real quick. And sometimes it's like, I don't know, like 30 seconds. Like, am I doing a long time of it? No, but it does allow me to just be like, oh, there it is. Okay, cool. Let's address it and let's move on and
yeah,
not get stuck in the drama of it.
yeah. How would you say, like, our deeper work together helped pave the way for, like, this to be, like, those now to be so easy?
I feel like the deeper work um kind of introduced me to this deep well of emotion that I have, and was programmed to kind of tamp it down. And so the deep work we did was always together, but now I notice the emotions more easily. I can identify them more easily. I can see when they come up, and I can see what is like bringing it up for me. And so you gave me this safe space to work through the really deep and hard things, which allowed me to really create like a foundation for myself to be like, oh, yeah, yeah, I got this. I can do this. I can handle this.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that that's really what I love to help people work with is that foundation of what I
Yeah.
call space and grace,
Yeah.
the ability to, oh, I need to give myself this time here, the space and the grace to choose the coping skill
Yeah.
in this moment to help me process what's coming
Yeah.
up for me.
And I feel like there's always there's times in your life where you can, use one tool or one skill or one coping mechanism. And having lots of tools in your toolbox is very, very, very useful because you learn what works best for you in each scenario. And having this, like I said, it just gives me a lot of like emotional freedom and clarity. And I am so much nicer to myself, like in my head when I'm talking to myself. I'm much nicer. And it's like, oh, wow, I am like, I'm nice to everybody else, but I'm also nice to me now, which is the hugest change.
Yeah. And how does that make a difference in your life?
It has reduced the noise in my head, all of the things that I was thinking or doing that I felt like I needed to do. It's like quieted all of that down because I can come from a place of like love for myself, and that reduces the noise, which allows me to make better moves like day to day, whether it's dealing with stress at work or stress in relationships or like angst in relationships. And I think one of the best examples I have, so it's kind of a funny story. So we took my truck in, me and my husband, and we took my truck in for service, and we were late, and I was like really um I was really just stressed out about it. I was like, we're late. I hate being late. We're late and we got to sit here. And like, I was just all amped up about it. And because I didn't allow myself to feel any of it, I spent the entire time, which was a glorious like hour and a half with my husband, which we were, we work opposite schedules. So we don't ever see each other. I mean, that's like kind of dramatic, but we very rarely get quality time together. I could not focus on that quality time that we could have been spending together. And I got home and I was like, oh, yeah, I squashed the feelings away, but it took me out of the ability to enjoy that time with my husband. So then I
Mhm.
tapped on it when I got home, and then I felt better about it.
That's awesome. What, so you're also a coach.
Mm-hmm.
You are a coach for cancer survivors. Has it made an impact, or what impacts have you seen in your coaching now or in your business?
Oh, that's such a good question. So I'm going to start with the business aspect of it first. Again, it quieted the noise in my mind so that when I'm taking action in my business, it's just more in alignment, and it's more focused on what I really want to be doing. You I have like a list of questions that you gave me, and I think the biggest one is, what do I need today? And I use that, what do I need in my business today? That's huge. And that's such a simple question. And it's like, I know the answers. Like, that was the biggest shift. As far as being a coach and holding space for others who are going through a cancer journey, I can get off of a call and I don't take another person's stuff with me. Like, it, I kind of use it as like a kind of a clearing and a cleansing. And it's like, you know, I was in it with this person and I understand and I can empathize so deeply with what they're going through. But this allows me to just create some space in between me and them, and then just kind of clear it out when I'm done coaching with them, because I don't need to take that with me. Like, that's not my job.
Yeah, awesome. What made you reach out to me to coach with me?
Okay, so we were in a mastermind together, and I was just like, I just love Jess. And I had a lot of changes in my life in a short period of time. I went from being single and a mother to none to being married and a mother to two. And then we took on a foreign exchange student. So it was three. And I just felt so stuck, and I didn't know how to get out of it. It's like I was aware and I was feeling just prickly and stressed out and anxious all of the time. Like, am I doing this right? And I'm a proponent of find the shortcut, find the person who can give you the hand up and say, hey, let's look over here, or let's walk this path because that might be a little bit easier for you. And because I was aware of the trauma from previous relationships, I knew that I needed to heal myself so that I could be the version of me that I was picturing as this new wife and this new mother to grown-ups. So um, it was the shortcut, it was healing, and it was getting in touch with my emotions. I knew that was so important because it was like I was aware that I was so far out of touch.
Mm. What were there any like hesitations that you had?
No. I don't know if you remember this, but you were like, yeah, I'll send the contract and you can make a payment. And I was like, perfect. was I scared of like, oh my gosh, I don't know how much this is going to cost or how long it's going to be? Yeah, but that was just the logical side of my brain, just like trying to scream at me. And I was like, you can scream over there, but I'm still doing this because this is best for me. This
Mhm.
is what I need right now. And one of the things I have learned about myself, especially living with cancer, is I do things right away. Like I'm
Mhm.
not putting it off. If it's urgent, if it feels like it's a problem that needs to be solved, we're going to do that. We're going to do it right away because waiting does not do anything for you.
Yeah. It's one of those lessons that I wish that we didn't have to learn because of
Mm-hmm.
something scary happening,
Yeah.
right? Because I know I have another friend kind of living with cancer and kind of also an uncertain trajectory of it, right? Your life expectancy could be this over here, or it could be this over here. Who knows, right? And
Right.
so she's just had to reorganize things, and you don't wait, right? Like, and I myself, having had that experience recently where I had a wonky mammogram, but it did turn out clear. But there was like those 36 hours where I had a really interesting conversation with myself about what do I change in my life if this is the worst case
Yeah.
scenario. And it's a question I'd probably asked myself before, like if there was one day left or whatever, what would I do? But it's not the same until you are
In it.
in that
Yeah.
experience. Your answers
Yeah.
would be very different.
And one of the things that I kept thinking to myself about making this decision is I am investing in myself in the best way that I know possible. And I know that the return on this is going to be massive. Like, I didn't know what it was going to exactly look like, but I knew that this investment was the best choice for me in the moment. And here we are having finished our coaching several months later. And I'm like, oh, yeah, it's still paying me back like tenfold. There were so many times I would get off of a call for you with you and one call and I would be like, yeah, that was worth the entire investment.
Yeah.
And that happened multiple times. So yeah, I made money. I like girl mathed it. I made money on those.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. One of the things that I do think is worth talking about, right, is that when you reached out to me for coaching, it, I mean, we hadn't talked for probably a year or something, right? Like we had been in that mastermind together. And I think that you had done like a peer coaching session with me, or like we'd even done a group thing. And when you reached out, like, yeah, you were like, hey, do you have room for clients? And then I was like, yep. And then you said something about a consult. And I was like, well, if you want a consult, like we can certainly do that. Um, but if you already, when you reached out to me, you're like, I know I want to work with you. And so
Yeah.
remember, like you said, well, I don't want to rob myself of the whole experience. And I was like, sure. Or we could just get started and not rob yourself of the experience of getting started right away. And you actually went and
I did a
did
consult on
on
myself.
yourself. And you were like, and I just gave you the link. And I remember saying, if you want to still do a consult with me, like you can do that. Otherwise, here's like the invoice. And you just did that. So is there anything like what stuck out to you from that time that or that session that we'd done like a year prior that gave you that courage to be like, okay, this is the person and I don't even need to like dig in with her?
That's a great question. I think it was just a big fat gut feeling. Like you were always, sometimes you meet somebody and you're like, yeah, this is just an amazing person. I trust them. I value what they have to say. And you just stuck out to me as that kind of person where it's like, yeah, 100%. Absolutely. Would I want to hang out with them? Would I want to go have coffee with them? Whatever. Yes. Yes. Yeah. And having done it was I think it was peer coaching, and even that was, it just shifted something for me. And to see that impact, I had like already made the decision. I'm again I'm a great decision maker. Once I decide something, I just go for it.
Mhm. Yep.
So it was a it was gut, it was intuition, it was I knew that you were the answer to the question that I had. And I could have like looked at a million other coaches, but like, why? I knew
Mhm.
you, I trusted you right away. Like, why? Why do I need to do anything else?
Yeah.
And from like a bigger spiritual perspective for me, people come into your life for a reason at the right time.
Mhm.
And I met you at the right time. Maybe I didn't work with you immediately, but it was like you came and it was like aligned. It was like, this is supposed to be that someone that's in your life. And at some point, maybe you need something that they offer.
Yeah. I love it. What did you like best about working with me and or my style?
Um, you were the kindest voice that I could hear in my own head. One of the things that my clients always tell me is like, I can hear you in my head. And I think it's always easier to speak to yourself in your coach's voice than to speak in your own voice because you hear what they're saying and you can redirect your brain. And what I needed then was somebody that was really kind and loving to show me how to be kind and loving of myself. Um, I think there were, oh my gosh, like there's just so many. I'm just like flooded with like all these moments and all these breakthroughs, and it happened almost every single time. Like it was just so effective, and the angst that I was feeling before and afterwards, the change was huge. It was
Mhm.
just so huge. And it was fast, right? Like I want
Yeah.
I want it to be easy. I want it to be fun.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I would say like what we worked together for 6 months. And when you think, yeah, about relative to the time we spend thinking a certain kind of way or being a certain kind of way in our lives, like to go from feeling anxiety every day or that self-doubt to, I mean, and it didn't take 6 months, right,
No.
to do that, right? Because you
Yeah.
were already saying like kind of right away. Actually, that's a great question. You've kind of already answered, but just specifically, how long would you say did it take you before you started noticing like those real kind of shifts in your life?
I honestly think probably about a month. And then it was like 5 months of practicing it and integrating it and making it be a part of me, rewiring like how I think and how I feel to this new higher version of myself. So a lot of it was the practice and the implementation. And that part I love so much because it's like once you learn a new skill, right, you have to like develop the muscles. And then once you get strong, you're like, yes, I've got this. And that was by the end of the 6 months, I was like, yes, I've absolutely got this. And I know what to do if something comes up. I know where to go if I need like extra help. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm drowning. I know exactly what to do. Like that's so just like relief and like easy. It's like, yes, I've got it. I can do that.
Yeah, yeah. Is there, what would you say to somebody who is like unsure about working with me?
As a coach, I have some thoughts about that. As a human, I would say if your gut is telling you, at least get on the call and just find out, right? Part of what you do on a consult is make the decision and figure out how to love the decision. As a coach, like absolutely yes, just immediately yes.
Is there like, so in my business, like the way I structure things, we there's 18 sessions within the 6 month package with 1 week off a month for that integration period. Can you just speak to like how that kind of piece was for you?
Yeah. I loved the integration week because I took the time that we would normally have our call and I would sit down and I would do just a little extra work. I was like, okay, this time is already blocked off in my calendar. I'm not just going to fritter it away. I'm going to use this intentionally. So I would sit down and I would practice, and I'd be like, okay, like what came up for me this week? And it was like I was running the session in my own brain for myself, using the Jess voice, like, okay, like what are we gonna do now? Like let's tap on that. Um, I also loved it because it gave me confidence. It allowed me to build up the confidence knowing that like once our time is over, I'm not just gonna flounder and fail and like regress. I've made this progress and I can survive without her. Although let's be real, I was a little emotional at the last call.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big change when you go like,
Yeah.
the work that you do with coaches, period. Like it is life changing and it is emotional, whether you're targeting emotions like we were or not. And yeah, that's totally, I get emotional too. So
Yeah. It's one of those things that I think that's really interesting is you're inviting someone else into your brain. And that's a very intimate experience. And the best part about working with a coach is they're not going to judge you. They're going to hold space for you. And just it's the safest space to just be you, like the most you that you are. And you always created that. And so at the end of it, it's like you've had this person in your brain, like messing around in there, like looking in the dark corners and like dusting out the cobwebs. And it's just so intimate and it's so comforting, I think is probably the word I would use to describe it.
yeah. Is there any feedback you have like that maybe didn't work or that you think I should know about the process or anything leading up? Because I am always trying to make things as simple as they can be for myself and clients.
Yeah. Um, I love the regression thing. That was so stinking cool. Feedback wise, um,
The regression thing, the re-imprinting.
re-imprinting, yes, that was the
Yeah,
word I was looking for. I love that. That was the coolest thing I think I've ever
that's the
done.
time
That was
travel.
yeah, that was a wild experience. And I'm just gonna go off on a little side tangent from all of the life with narcissists and like being gaslit. It gave me so much healing that like I do remember things because
Yes.
I was told that I did not remember things for so long. And oh my God, the amount of confidence and like courage that gave me that I know my own mind. I remember things correctly. Oh, that was like the final piece that I really needed
Yeah, that's
in
the
that healing.
modality where we go back and like essentially give your younger self the ability to have information that you have now and make a new decision about themselves and where they belong in the world. And it can happen that quickly. One of my other clients is always like, you hotwired my brain.
Yeah, yeah. That was the neatest thing. Um, no, I think everything ran smoothly. It was easy. All of the information that I ever needed was there. You have your little portal and you just log in and the call recordings are there. That was one of the things that I would do on an integration week is go back and like listen to something again. And I would just sit and listen to it again. And I was watching things change in my mind. And I was like, that is magic. That was the coolest thing. Um, and I think you can get overwhelmed by like the idea of like what is coaching, like what is going to happen, and like what is EFT, what is tapping. the way you broke it down, you just made it simple and doable and easy. And it was always optional. Like, you don't have to tap in between sessions. I chose to because I'm a highly emotional person and I get really fired up really easily. That was my choice, but you didn't have to. And you never put any pressure. You never said you should be doing this, like, or you shouldn't be doing this. It was always just, this is an option
Yeah.
you want.
Yeah. Awesome. One thing, because you actually mentioned it before, like, what does emotional freedom mean to you?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it was developing a relationship with my emotions and being able to feel them, but not be stuck in them, right? So feeling the emotion and then being free of the emotion
Mm-hmm.
and being able to pick, like, once the emotion is felt, like, what do I really want to feel next? And
Mm-hmm.
one of my favorite emotions that I like to hang out in is curiosity, because that to me feels very freeing, and it reduces mind drama, and people don't piss me off, situations don't piss me off, because I'm like, that's interesting. Like, what's my reaction? That's really interesting, what's going on in my mind. But also, I wonder why they did that. Like, I don't victimize myself against others anymore. And so that's the freedom part, is like,
Mm-hmm.
I can feel the emotion and then I'm free of the emotion. I don't have to carry it around. um and I have a better relationship with all of my emotions, the
Yeah.
good ones and the bad ones.
Yeah. Actually, and let's go back too, because that was one of the big things that you hired me for, was like being doing this big transition to being a parent now, not only a wife, but also a parent. How did that change for you?
Oh my gosh, it was so fun. It's So I'm a recovering codependent person based on prior toxic relationship, and I could see the areas where that codependency would flare up, and I needed to take care of myself in that moment so that I didn't um exhibit that behavior or like model that behavior. And it also allowed me to set really clear boundaries as a parent to a very stubborn headed child. She's not a child, she's a young adult, but it helped me kind of create some safety around myself for, like, when I had to stand up for something or when I had to ask for something. And instead of being stuck in old habits, I was able to create this foundation under myself and say, okay, these are my boundaries, and this is what I feel comfortable asking. And when it gets uncomfortable, then I can tap on it and figure out what's really going on and understand, like, have I compromised my own boundary? Am I pushing too hard on theirs? Am I, do I need to like ask for consent or be more open, or was I too open? Like, it helped me just create the boundaries and then balance, I would
Mm-hmm.
say, between being me as a business owner and a wife and a woman and, a person who likes to take naps and like do things by myself. Like, I like to be alone. Like, I'm an extroverted introvert. So, like, how do I take care of my introvert times when I'm like, just leave me alone?
Yeah.
One of the big things we worked on, and this seems so small, is closing my office door.
Mm-hmm.
And I can now close my door with confidence and I'm fine. And like, they know if they want to talk to me, they can knock on the door. And if the door is closed, it better be, you know, somebody's dying.
Is there anything else in general you would want me to know, you'd want somebody else to know, you think it would be beneficial for them to know?
Yes. I think as women, we are told we're too much, we're too emotional, we're too something. And it is our responsibility to take care of ourselves the best way that we know how. And there's no such thing as too emotional. But you can build a better relationship with your emotions so that you feel better about everything. And some of the shit is optional. Like, we want to make things so difficult. And if there's a solution to the problem that's in front of you, take it, do the work. It's worth it.
It's gonna make me babe me teary. Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.